Hello everybody, today I'm going to be reviewing a classic, and this is A Taxi Driver, which was directed by Martin Scorsese in 1976, and it stars Robert De Niro, Sybil Shepherd, and Jodie Foster. This is a film that I relate to Dostoevsky a lot, particularly Crime and Punishment, because it's about this protagonist that's a very nihilistic person. But this film is about Travis Bickle, who is played by Robert De Niro, and he is an ex-Marine who lives in New York City, and he drives a cab by night. He's a very lonely and depressed character who has a lot of repressed anger that is just right beneath the surface, and I'm not sure whether or not this has anything to do with PTSD. It could. There isn't much that's revealed about Travis past just the fact that he is an ex-Marine, but I think that that has something to do with it. It's all kind of building, and it's about to go over the edge. A lot of people consider this film to be about the anti-hero, but I don't like to classify people as heroes or villains or anti-heroes. To me, this is just about a man and his psychological descent into madness and violence. I think we all can relate to having depression at times, and it's about how depression and anger and loneliness can sometimes be so powerful in us that we can drown in it and lose ourselves. I actually hadn't seen this film in quite a number of years before very recently, and I have to say that it affected me on such a profound level, which is why I felt like I had to do a review of it, because, you know, now that I'm an adult and I've kind of come to terms with a lot about life, you really do see how much Travis is mirrored in how Americans see themselves, or just how people see themselves. And I think we all relate to Travis on some level, whether you want to admit it or not. It's true. When I was younger, I was much more caught up in the bravura of the filmmaking aspect of it, because it is Scorsese and he has a very definite style. I was thinking about that a lot more than I was thinking about the actual characters, because I guess I couldn't relate to them because I didn't really understand what they were going through necessarily. But even though the film does have a remarkable style and it is very eye-catching, very auteur, I think that this is one of Scorsese's most intimate, most human stories. But he creates that intimacy by ironically really giving us that personality in terms of the directing. And what I mean by that is that the look of the film creates this world, this depiction of New York City, but it's very multifaceted. It's alluring and even beautiful, but beautiful in a way that's almost like gutter poetry. It's grotesquely beautiful, if that makes any sense at all. It's very dark and noirish and macabre. And of course I have to give a shout out to my man Bernard Herrmann, who did the score. This is the last film he ever did any music for, and it's such a rich jazz soundtrack that works so well. And it gives us an idea of who Travis is, and we're seeing that in the style of it. Travis himself is played by Robert De Niro in what is one of the best performances Robert De Niro ever gave. It is amazing. He is so magnetic yet so real. What I love a lot about him is the physicality of the performance. He really does embody who he thinks Travis Bickle is. He seems kind of uneducated. He doesn't really look many people in the eye because he just seems uninterested in them. He's insecure, but there is something there that is brewing beneath that exterior, and you never know when he's gonna snap. But it's always about him just kind of pushing. He's always pushing, and you never know where he's going to go, whether he's going to go over the edge or not. And it is just fascinating to watch. And it's not just in his character, it's in all the characters, all the little characters here and there, the ensemble, because they are all so real. It's a very organic depiction of what people are like, how they interact, and certainly how people are in New York City. Even though the film is very cinematic, the characters have very naturalistic dialogue, and you never get any easy answers in the film. One of my favorite lines in the film is one that Sybil Shepherd has. She plays a character named Betsy, and she calls Travis a walking contradiction. And to me, that is kind of the idea of the film, what it's trying to dissect, I guess is a good word, because often we all as people have an idea of who we are and who we want to be, where we want to go, but so often we kind of go in the opposite direction of that, out of fear, out of whatever it is. So we are all kind of contradictions in that way, and I think that that is a very deep idea and so difficult to capture well. We see projections of ourselves in other people, and how we view people often is kind of how we view ourselves in a very ironic way. And I think we see that a lot, particularly in the female characters that Travis interacts with, particularly with Betsy. Betsy he sees as this angel. He thinks that she's just this beautiful, ideal, romanticized woman. He thinks she's different from all the rest and that they have this powerful connection that she will get him. She'll understand who he is because nobody else does. But on one of their dates, he takes her to a porn film and she's immediately put off by it. She doesn't want to have anything to do with him. She's out of the picture. And he becomes so angry because of that. And I'm not going to say that's what causes his downward spiral, but it certainly contributes to it. I think a lot of it is because he feels so insecure about his loneliness. And so when he's lashing out at her for not understanding anything about him, really, I think he's more angry at himself. And in a very different way, he sees a lot of himself in the character of Iris, played by Jodie Foster, who is this prostitute, but she's a kid. He looks at her and he is almost nurturing towards her. He wants to save her. He tells her, you don't need to be doing this. You need to be at home and living a normal life, because I think he doesn't want her to become the rest of the world. He doesn't want her to be lost to that in the same way that he is being lost to it. I think that Iris obviously has some reservations about what she's doing, and she's not necessarily comfortable with where she is in the world, but I don't think that Travis really gets to the point where he understands who she is and what she really wants. I think he just wants to he wants to stand for something. He wants to be that hero to somebody. And I love that. I love how there are so many layers going on in all of these characters. And I honestly think while I watched the film, and particularly this last time that I watched it, it reminded me about how we see ourselves in each other and how that can either distort or glorify how we view that person and how we view the world. And it is a very slippery slope. So if you haven't seen this movie, go see it. It is a wonderful, wonderful piece of work, and it is probably my favorite Scorsese film. Anyway, that's my review. Thank you all for listening. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter, the link is below, and you can also like my Facebook page in the link below that. Catch you next time.